Welcome back to Second Nature, and all I can say is it's about time. Christian, welcome to Second Nature.
Oh man, thanks so much for having me.
I got to be honest with you, man, and I say this with so much love. You live rent-free in my head. You have provided me so much good insight. You shared so much stuff with me. I follow you on all this stuff. I listen to you on all this stuff. But like you are the voice of reason in the back of my head. And after this podcast, I think you're about to be that for a lot of people.
No
How's
pressure.
that?
No pressure.
I wanted to have a conversation with you. I feel like the best framing for our conversation is around this idea of sort of the mindset for 2026 and how to approach stuff. And you've just had so many gems that I've read, and so many just like insights along the way, that I feel like just digging into some of that stuff would be probably the best place for everybody to just get a ton of value out of this conversation. And you gave me a little bit of a cheat sheet as well, a little bit of a guide to have this conversation, which I super appreciate. But I think this is going to be a really fun conversation just to like dive into the way that we think about doing what we're doing, because a lot of what you do is sort of like coaching and advising for both like executives and for startups and stuff like that. Maybe that's the place to start. Why don't you kind of give everybody an idea of your day to day and your background?
Okay, I'll back up a little bit. I owned a small brand in the outdoor industry for 15 years with my wife. So I experienced the full arc of entrepreneurship and the roller coaster, as I like to call it, the entrepreneurial roller coaster, the ups and downs, and learned a lot through that process. And before selling the business a few years ago, as is when you're an entrepreneur, people ask you, they're earlier in their stage, they ask you questions. Oh, you've experienced this. Hey, what did you do when this happened? Or people start asking you questions, which is great, which is what you should be doing. And I started having more, let's call them formal conversations, more like a mentorship style with a few different entrepreneurs. And I realized, oh my God, I like talking about other people's businesses more than I am interested in my own business at this point, right? I'd been in the business for 18 years. I'd owned it for 15. I was ready to get on the second mountain, you know?
Yep.
And so I realized like, oh, this is calling to me. Like I am kind of the Venn diagram, the ikigai of whatever you want to call it, of what I wanted to do and where I feel like I add values. So yeah, it started as advising, and in the last year, I've moved more towards a coaching model. And we could talk about how I see the difference between those two things. But I still do a bit of advising and a bit of coaching with mainly outdoor industry folks, but all sorts of different people.
Are there any themes that you see when you're talking to these people across all the categories and stuff that sort of pop out for a lot of the outdoor people that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, in the early stages, it feels like there's like a really good idea. Like here is the product idea. And it's really like, and that's great. Like this is where a lot of it starts from the outdoor side. It's like, most people aren't starting like, how am I going to make the most money? You'll find that in other industries, but in the outdoors, like, how do I bring this idea to life? Like I'm scratching my own itch. Like I want to see this thing out in the world. And then there's a bit of what I've noticed is it ends up being confusion, because now it's just like, I got to make this thing grow. Like there's a decision, like, am I going to go all in on this? Okay, I'm going to go in all in this. Now I got to make this thing grow. You've borrowed money, you've leveraged your house, you've done things. And then you start to throw all these different tactics at it. And then you pick your head up, however many, 18, 36 months later, and you're like, oh, what am I doing again? Like we forgot about what it was why we got into this thing. So I think that's a common thing that I see kind of in the early stages, like kind of losing track or never actually sitting down and being like, okay, what do I want this business to look like? How do I want this to serve me? Because we're just so dead set on making it happen, seeing the thing come to fruition.
I mean, I've got to imagine the first 18 to 36 months of anything is just pure difficulty and trying to bring something into, that sort of 0 to 1. I've certainly gone through the exact same stuff with, even the content side of my business, of just trying to get enough momentum where it actually even exists. I'm almost like trying to prove it to myself that I was right, where I'm just not even looking at the final outcome. I'm just trying to make it real. I feel like that's sort of where a lot of people start from, I just want this to exist. I just want to bring it into reality, and then I'll worry about the rest later. And I think you're right. They're not really looking at sort of the bigger picture of, well, then what? You know, what happens when it works or if it works?
What does it look like for you? Like, how did you know this is real? Was there a moment for you?
Not really. Honestly, I still don't necessarily believe that it's real.
I'll let you know when I see it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, and that's one of these things where like I feel like I'm in a constant state of evolution. Like specific to the Super Rider channel, or however you want to call it, media empire, right? Like it's on multiple channels. It's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. It's got big followings everywhere. But like the work is sort of different from the business. Like I can make videos all day long, but the business of it is like, well, partnerships or selling, you know, integrations and stuff like that. And you can get lost in just doing the work and making video after video after video. But then you have to do sort of the partnership and the other stuff. And I think this is a year that really I'm starting to sort of double down on the business side of it, where I've just wanted to make videos because I like making videos, and there's enough return where it seems like, oh, there's something here, but I maybe didn't feel like I was legitimate enough to start adding in ads, or I didn't feel like I was worthy of pushing for like paid partnerships and stuff like that this year. And also I was afraid of the audience. I didn't want the audience to be upset at me for like getting paid, essentially. I didn't want them to think I was selling out or anything like that. And I think that the real truth is that I've just been too busy getting in my own way across the board, where these thoughts of, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm a sellout, or, oh, I don't want to do something that's only here to make money. Well, like, how else are you supposed to really make this a reality, you know? And also, nobody cares, probably. And if they do, who cares? Like, do I really care if somebody's that upset about me earning a couple of dollars for making? I mean, at this point, I've made over 700 videos on YouTube. So, like, I feel like I've probably earned the right to get paid by an outside source to do these kind of things. But I've really had to, like, take a step back and think seriously about, what am I doing? You know, is this actually working, or am I just having fun?
I think you've nailed the big thing that we all run into as entrepreneurs, is that you said I'm getting in my own way. Right? And that's the thing that we keep bumping up against. I mean, that's why I talk about doing the invisible work, because the visible work is the videos. You're putting out the videos, the visible work is also the brand deals and the partnerships and the sponsorship. That's the visible work. Everybody can see that, and it's easy to do because it's like, well, it feels like we're making progress.
Yep.
I think the invisible work is the important stuff. The visible work is very important too. We need a good product, but the invisible work is the stuff that we tend to neglect. And because it's harder to see, it's easier to ignore, it's easier to put off. And what I mean by invisible work is that stuff that's around you as the entrepreneur, like that, the self-awareness, asking yourself, what is it that I actually want? Like, I started out this business to do this thing. So I'll ask you, what did you start out Super Rider to do? And what does that look like today? Like, if you go back 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, I officially started it in September of 2020, and part of it was just because I had this background in making videos. I wanted to make videos again. I'd kind of put my camera down when I went to go work for Red Bull, because up until that point, that was my job. I would go all over the world filming bike videos, sometimes for Red Bull, other times for my own. You know, I put out like 12 DVDs. Well, actually, I put out 9 DVDs and 3 VHS, so that dates me a little bit. But I was also there for when live streaming. I was there for when YouTube hit and all that stuff. And part of me thinks like, man, if I just kept making videos and just pivoted to YouTube, where would I be right now?
Sure.
But can't do that. I put my camera down when I went to go work for Red Bull, because they had people that had cameras that were way better than me.
Yeah, they're the best.
I think I just really always loved making stuff. I love making videos. Genuinely, like, even if I didn't make money, I would still probably make little videos and stuff. I just like the act of creation when it comes to visual content like that. And so that's good and bad, right? Because part of it was like, yeah, cool, I would do this if I get paid or not, so I'm just going to keep doing it. and I don't need money to, keep doing it because I would do it anyway. But then that also gets in the way where you're like, but you should be charging for this. You should be asking for support. You should be, building a business off of this thing. It's this really tricky sort of catch-22, I think, of you're doing it because you love it, not for money, and you're worried that the money is going to make it be something else, make it a chore, essentially. And so just like this podcast too, I just want to make this podcast, just want to talk to interesting people and share those conversations out. But now we're 2 years into this podcast and we haven't monetized it at all, when we very easily could have from probably day one. But it's also like, oh, I don't want anybody to think like I'm here for that reason, These sort of thoughts mentally, the invisible side of things are kind of popping up. I guess the question I have for you is, how do you do invisible work? Like what is the thing that I need to be doing to get out of my way? A lot of people will say like, oh, we'll just hire somebody to like help you do that thing. And it's like, I'm not even making enough money to make it realistic for me. Why would I give a bunch of extra money to somebody else? So what are the things that you kind of coach people on when it comes to doing that invisible work?
The best skill that an entrepreneur can learn is self-awareness. And that is a big fuzzy ball of yarn skill that's hard to untangle and figure out what it is. I think, at its element, it's understanding your emotions and where they come from. And I'm all about the touchy-feely and the fuzzy stuff. So forgive me if that's not what you're into, but I think that's what it is like understanding how we operate, but on an individual level, like what's important to us, getting clear on that. How are we going to define success for ourselves is a big thing that I work with people on. Because when we get started, we just pick our head up and start looking around. And if we look around and scan the horizon for how other people are doing it or what we think other people expect of us, then we end up living that out. And however many months, years down the road, we pick our head and be like, oh, actually, that's not what I wanted. And I think you were touching on it a little bit about that idea of, I want to do this work because I love doing the work. And I think that's a beautiful thing, right? I think we should all be so lucky to be able to find a career that allows us to do this, enjoying the inputs and being envious of people's inputs and not necessarily outputs. I think we have a tendency to look at people's outputs, what we see that people put out in the world, but we're not necessarily seeing what they're doing to put the inputs in. And I think that's the interesting thing, to be like, okay, what do I love what I'm doing? Okay, yes, I can do that. Now, how do I make a good business case out of it? That's a different question. I'm convinced, though, that you need to have a good product idea for sure. But it's okay to have a side hustle for a while to prove that you can do the thing that you say you want to do. I think the self-awareness piece, getting clear on what drives you, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and then being really clear on what it is that you want why are you doing this? Like, what do you want your day to look like? What do you want your week to look like? What do you want to look like in 3 years? It's easy to get caught up in chasing something that's not necessarily authentic to us. And that's where that misalignment, I think, comes in for a lot of people.
I've stolen from friend of the pod, Steve Holmberg, this line that he uses for insights, which I feel like insights is sort of like the business case or the business version of sort of that invisible work. It's what would need to be true if ... And in my case, it's what would need to be true for this to work. What would need to be true to take this to a level where I felt really comfortable, where I didn't have any stress for X, Y, and Z, and really like asking that question over and over and over again, not just one time, but there was some work where it was like, ask yourself why 7 times, or whatever, and that will help you get to the root cause of that. And I think that was it. Like, what would need to be true for Super Rider to be successful? Okay, well, there would need to be like, it would need to be making a meaningful amount of money to be able to, fund the bigger ideas that I have. Because that's it, right? Like, there's always another idea after, whatever you're working on. Like, if I had this, then I could do that. I always see it as this game of sort of like leapfrog of like, okay, build the channel. Once the channel's done, then you can explore some even more interesting things. Once you explore those things, then it opens you up to be able to do this, and then this, and then this. And so Yeah, figuring out that what would need to be true to like get this whole flywheel up and running has sort of been the work that I've been trying to do in the last year, even just trying to have a better understanding. And for me, what would need to be true is that I need to just mentally get out of my own way of like holding myself to a standard that no one else does, and just like locking back down into like just start putting out videos again. Start like letting go of your preconceived notions of like what a partnership or brand deal means to like the people that are watching. Like just let go of those things and just do the work. You know, lock back into like what got you here. Because when I first started the channel, I was just making videos and I didn't care if, I mean, I cared if people were watching, but like I didn't understand how many people would eventually watch those videos, you know. And in day one at that point, maybe 100 people would watch it. Those same videos have, you know, tens of thousands of views now. I didn't know where anything was going. I was just making video after video. And then I switched to this mindset of like, oh, actually, if 100,000 people are going to watch this video, then I better do this and this and this and this. And then I started killing videos where I was like, oh, well, I probably shouldn't make that video. I probably shouldn't make that video. And I went from making 52 videos in a year, one a week, to 8 long form videos last year. It made a dramatic impact. Each one of those 8 videos did pretty well, but also, if I had done 50 videos last year, what would have happened? You know, would I have made one that would have been an unexpected banger and created another opportunity for me? I was just in my way.
You're using "I'm in my way" kind of in broad strokes. Mm-hmm. Do you have an idea of what the specifics are? Like, do you have a sense of a feeling or a, when you're about to, let's just take one of these videos that you make and you're like, you know what, I'm concerned about this, or I don't think the audience is going to like that. Can you identify what that thing is that's keeping you from doing it?
I think I'm predetermining an expected outcome when I have no idea. I have no clue what the audience, I mean, I feel like I have a fair idea what the audience wants, but also this is the problem specifically to content, is that yes, your current audience might not want that, but there might be another audience out there that's just as big, if not bigger, that's looking for that thing. And by only talking to one and only focusing on what that one audience wants, I'm not opening myself up to this potential new audience. Yeah. So for example, just be really specific about it. I had made a couple videos on an e-bike and I got so much hate for making an e-bike video because people that ride analog mountain bikes, especially if they've never ridden an e-bike before, get really upset when you ride an e-bike because it's like a completely different thing. I think that has actually softened up in the last year or so because more people have actually just ridden e-bikes and like, oh wait, no, this is actually pretty good. But because of that, because I got like some really, really rough comments, I backed off of all e-bike content. I was like, all right, I'm not touching that bike publicly. I ride it all the time in real life. It's actually great because it takes me 90 seconds to ride my e-bike to the trailhead by my house now. So I'm like almost permanently on that bike, but like in front of the camera, no way. And so if I think about that, e-bike is for sure the biggest growing population in the bike industry right now. I didn't make a single video to address that population because I was worried that my existing audience was going to like turn on me with the pitchforks and, you know, whatever.
Let's look back though on when you first started making videos, because your words were, I just want to make videos because I love making videos. And so if we're to look where we are today, you just mentioned you went from 52 to 8. What is true now about making videos that's different than what it used to be?
I've allowed the audience's opinion to impact what I have to make or what I'm making.
How does that feel?
I mean, it's gotten me to, you know, like this is sort of the trap, because you need your community and you need your audience to be able to really make effective brand partnerships go, right? Like I want that audience to view me as credible and to agree with me and to back me when I say, hey, this is a product that I use and you probably will like it too. I need that level of engagement and support to make it make sense for me to engage additional brands, to say, hey, this audience behind me, they will look at whatever it is that, you want me to put in front of them because they trust me. And if I agree that this product is awesome, they will at least give it a look. That's what I can promise you. If I turn my back on that audience and make stuff that they don't want, I'm afraid that I lose everything I've built up so far. I lose that credibility. I lose that follow through. And it then in turn impacts the business by making the companies that I put in front of them not perform,
Yeah, it's interesting. The thing that comes up for me when you talk about that is, well, number one, I'm a part of your audience. So I would say don't let the vocal minority wag the dog in that sense. Because I don't know if that's actually, I'll push back a little bit on that. I don't know if that's actually true. I understand the mental game that you're going through on your side.
Yeah.
But I don't know if if we're going to go back to what has to be true, I don't know if that's one of those things that actually is true.
And I think that's exactly right. I think that is the realization that I have coming into 2026. This is sort of the mindset of like, actually, is that true? Like questioning stuff that has been holding me back. Those thoughts of like, oh, my audience would never go for this. I'm not doing this deal, or I'm not going to make that video. Is that actually true? Does that actually make an impact? And so I'm kind of pushing past the stuff that has been holding me back in terms of what I thought was true. I'm challenging all the assumptions that I previously had, and I'm going to push past it almost to the point of, okay, I'm going to push past this and I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out if I was right or wrong. I might find out that I was right and actually I made a mistake, or I might find out that I was wrong and open myself up to something new that is going to help me get to the next level. So
this is it. Like I said before we hit record, the universal is explained through the individual. It's like your story is my story and our stories together are the same. Like people are listening to this like, yep, I know 100% that is. They may make a physical product. They may work inside a brand. They may make content, but they know what that feels like, of like starting out early and doing the thing because you love it. And then you get a little of the success, you get a taste of success, and then you start to question everything. And then it's like the thing that got you there it got you to this point. Now you abandon it for some reason. I'm 100% guilty of it. I felt that way in my own business. I wanted to grow and scale. And so I was like getting independent sales reps in all corners of the globe. I was just like, let's go do all this stuff. And I felt so spread thin. And I felt like I was trying to do all these things and do all things to all people type thing. And it just wasn't working. I wasn't enjoying it at all. And then thankfully somebody wiser than me gave me some advice. And the analogy was, you're trying to throw a bunch of rocks into the ocean. You're just like, it's too big you're making the pool way too big, and you're just trying to throw. And what he said to me is just like, get the biggest rock you can lift and throw it in the smallest pond you can find, right? Like just make an impact where you can make an impact, and then take that and replicate it. So that's what we did. It was like, okay, I'm literally going to go into my backyard. I'm going to refocus on the region of Western Canada. That's where I am. Okay, I'm going to really focus on that. And what's the biggest rock I can? Well, we're going to tell a personal story. We're going to tell the brand story. And we're going to just tell it to this market. And then we learned a bunch of things about, what resonates, what doesn't, what do we like doing, what do we don't like doing, what products need to be happening, and what products we need to cut. Then we could go like, okay, now I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that model. I'm going to move it to the next region. Okay, and I'm going to take that model and I'm going to take it to the third region. And I'm not saying this correlates across all industries and all businesses, but there's something about we're just like finding the biggest audience possible and just hucking stuff at it. It's like, a wing and a prayer, as opposed to just like, what is the smallest? Who can I make an impact on? Whose lives can I make? Where can I get my voice? Where can I hone my audience? And then now replicate from there.
I love that. I'm going to go grab a giant rock.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's a good question, is like, if I'm for fear of putting my own metaphor on your life, potentially you've grown a big audience. Well, you have grown a big audience, and potentially that is something that you're running into now. Mm-hmm. It's like, this thing is so big. What do I do? And is there something about shrinking it down mentally, not literally shrinking it, but in your mind, like, okay, who am I making this for? And shrinking it down, does that help? Or would that be helpful?
I think the real answer is like, I want to make it for me. And that's where I started from. What I originally started doing was actually a really specific discipline of mountain biking, and I love that discipline. And I sort of went away from it a little bit because I was trying to get this really big audience. I wanted that plaque right there, that 100,000 subscriber plaque. I wanted that silly piece of metal. Like, that was important to me. And then I got it, and I was like, literally nothing changes. Actually, I'm excited that I have this. It's a great achievement, but like, it doesn't do anything. I still can put out a video that isn't going to get that many views if I don't do the thing right. You know, it doesn't automatically guarantee any level of success. It's nice to have. It looks cool in the background of my video, but like, doesn't do anything for me. And so what does? I'm going to go back to the stuff that really, really lights me up, and I'm going to start adding that in. Now, I'm not going to completely abandon what works. I know that if I make a wheelie video, it's going to get 500,000 views. Maybe I won't let go of that, but I'm going to teach some more advanced skills because I like teaching those skills, and I'm the only person that can do it. There's nobody else in the mountain bike world that teaches trials skills specifically and doubly so on a mountain bike, using a mountain bike. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add that in because it makes me happy, and I'm just going to accept the fact that those will probably not be, you know, big view videos, but they make me happy, and they're, you know, every video is an employee. It brings more people into the mix, right? So I'm just going to keep doing that, and I'm letting go of the results, because what good does it do to have like a big video like that? It's great. It's validation, but it doesn't actually change the, you know, anything.
Yeah.
And so what does change things are putting out content that I absolutely love making, that I just, the whole reason I did it for. I'm going back to a little bit more of that. And honestly, like, that will continue to help differentiate sort of where I stand, and it will open me up to a bigger audience, because there are people that already know all the basics of balancing a bike, but they don't know how to hop on their back wheel, but they've always wanted to. And I'm the guy.
That's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you're redefining success for yourself, because you pointed to the plaque as if that was the thing. And that is, congratulations. That shows that you put in a ton of work to make that happen. But as you mentioned, you got there and you're like, weird. That doesn't. So what does it look like now for you? What is, if you could put the nuts and bolts of success for Super Rider, define it? I mean, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but what does that look like?
Well, to be fair, that moment where I got the plaque was really meaningful, and it was really special, and it was really cool. It was an amazing life achievement moment, to be honest. Like,
as it should be.
I don't want to like say that getting that plaque didn't mean anything, because it was absolutely a meaningful moment in my life, and everything that we did around it was really special as well. I actually went to the London office for YouTube to pick that up. I got it on the rooftop, and one of my really close friends works at YouTube, and he and I had been talking to each other every single month, just doing like a monthly check-in every month since I basically started the channel. I think I had like 400 subscribers when we started our monthly, you know, as kind of like a fun kind of accountability partner type thing, but also like he got an inside view of the rise to, because he knew that that's where I was headed, you know, and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And he was the guy that handed me the 100,000 subscriber plaque, which was like, it was a moment, you know? Cool. I think that the 100,000 subscriber plaque also is like sort of this validation that like, okay, there are certain things in the world that have formulas, and I figured out the formula. I figured out how to like make this thing happen. I understood the process. I understood that it was going to take time, and I went knowing what the formula was to get to this point. But also like the answer to sort of the formula, the equation wasn't actually success. It was just like, well, okay, here's the answer to how you get one of these things. It's this formula. But yeah, like to this conversation of redefining success, like the answer to that formula wasn't success. It was silver plaque.
Right.
And so now, instead of just rinsing and repeating, like, well, you're going to get another plaque, but you're not necessarily going to get success. So what is the thing that actually makes you successful? I think what I've had to do is sort of reorient two different things. I've had to reorient what success looks like in terms of what I'm making and how often I'm making, and sort of my calendar of content and what that actually looks like. Am I doing enough stuff that I like doing? Am I iterating in a way that's meaningful to me? Am I creating new stuff, not just rinsing and repeating the same content over and over and over? Like, I want to add this thing. How do I add that in? Pushing myself to do that, but then also pushing myself to be more serious about brand partnerships and integrations and stuff like that. Having those conversations that maybe I had blown off in the past or not followed through on or not built up. I think one of the things for me too is that I want to have meaningful partnerships with people that I actually care about. I want to have collaborators. There is a level of like, I need to make money doing this, but there's also a level of like, I need to have collaborators. I want people that I can, this doesn't sound, I don't know how to say this the right way, but like, I need to have people that I can perform for, and not perform as in like I'm on camera doing my thing, but I want to have people that I can deliver a result for, that I'm collaborating with to get that result, because that actually makes me really happy. I want to see other people be successful, and making content that we've partnered on is a way to do that. And so I'm looking for those opportunities. I want to build these really great relationships with people that I respect. I want to work with them in a capacity where I can deliver results for them. And I want them to be really stoked on both of those two things kind of coming together in, kind of one big way. So success for me is finding those collaborators that really mean something to me, that I'm willing to like put the energy into. I think that's the number one thing, because everything else from both the brand and the business kind of come from that. Whereas I've been so hyper focused on just producing content that gets tons of views on every platform that I've sort of ignored the meaningful relationships that could have been built along the way.
It sounds like you're redefining your values, or defining maybe not redefining, but you're defining your values along the way, which I think is a component of how you define success for yourself. Is like, what are the values? And I like to view my values as like a filter that I run my decisions through. Right. And Brene Brown actually talks about this in Daring to Lead, is like this idea of like your values are the filter that you kind of run your course through. So when opportunities come my way, I can be like, well, how does this align with, I'm going to go back to my values. How does this align to my values? Or I'm considering pursuing a new opportunity. Hold on real quick. Let me just run this through my values. And if your value sounds like doing meaningful creative work that's meaningful to you, potentially last year when you only made 8 videos, you were not necessarily living up to the value that you see in yourself, because you were creating videos that you thought your audience would like, as opposed to creating videos that were meaningful to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the year, like we had done, I mean, on the other side of it, like I put a lot of focus into the podcast too.
I was about to say, I don't want, like, we should not let it go by that while building Super Rider, you've also built, along with Dylan, the best podcast in the outdoor industry. So there you go.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I think that this took a lot of work. It took more work than I expected. I feel like podcasts are, you would know, they are deceivingly time consuming to create. And we've done it on a pretty small crew to just get this thing up and running and to put it out into the world. And we haven't asked anything of the podcast. We've just done it as sort of a labor of love. And I think that's also true in that both Super Rider and Second Nature have been labors of love. But it's like, oh, wait, now I'm at this point where like these labors of love are taking a lot of my energy, and it's taking energy away from, being able to pay the mortgage. So like, I better figure this out. I better figure out how to like kind of square everything in my life, where it's like, hey, if you want to keep doing these things, you probably need to start making a little bit more sense. Like, you can't just do stuff for the love of it and expect that all the necessities of reality are just going to go away. And I think that's a lot of what's forced me into this sort of reality check, is been like, okay, that's really nice that you like making videos. That's really nice that you like doing podcasts and like helping people out. The indirect benefits of doing both those things are really high. We've built incredible relationships with people. We've helped out other brands and businesses and friends of ours, and we've done a lot of like positive things. But what are you going to do about it? How are you going to make this like sustainable in a long-term sense? without feeling gross about it. And I think that's like where I really, really struggle the most, because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm trying to pull a fast one. I want everyone to feel like, yeah, no, that you should. There was podcast, I've referenced this recently. It was like a podcast we were listening to that was like, people would never think twice about like tipping a barista for pouring him a coffee, which takes all of 30 seconds. But then you spend an hour and a half minimum making a podcast, and like, and with so much meaning and intention and effort and whatever. And people would just like, what? Like, you want to get paid for that? I always find that like a really interesting thing.
And I think we talked about this when you came on the Core podcast. And this is what I really admire about you and the work you've done. I mean, go back to your work at Red Bull. Go back to the work that you were doing, filming, trials writing and creating all these videos. You were building a community. You were serving a community. Now, take your career in Red Bull. You were serving the athletes that you manage, that were underneath you in that management setting. And then now, Super Rider, Second Nature, your work is really generative. Do you know what I mean by generative? Like, you're pursuing things that you're interested in and you're sharing your knowledge along the way. And it also is supporting, and you're like creating multiple flywheels, a flywheel for yourself and a flywheel for others, right? And I think that is an amazing skill, and it is definitely something that people notice. I notice it. I know, like, look at your Slack channel. People are listening to this, and you're building a community, and it's 100% off the work of you and Dylan. And it's because you're willing to share and you're willing to do this stuff. And as a listener, it's okay to feed us some ads. We will gladly. And I'm sure everybody's like listening to this, be like, yeah, man, we're ready for it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it makes it easy for you to do. Like, even if your audience is going to give you permission, you still need to, like, I think what you said is do it and not feel disingenuous. You didn't say disingenuous, but something like that. Like, it just feels like, oh, now I'm going to ask you to pay for this. This feels weird. And I wonder, we hear about like the fear of failure. And I think there's something that we don't talk about enough, and that's the fear of success. And this idea of like, what does it look like if this works? What does it look like if people actually pay me good money to do? What will I feel like if people pay me good money to do the thing that I love doing?
The fear of success. Do you think that's it? Do you think that's been my problem this entire time? I feel very seen in this very specific moment. And I think that I was actually talking to my wife this morning about the Enneagram. I don't know if you're familiar with the Enneagram at all.
Oh, bro, hold on. I'm so glad you brought this up.
I am a 2, so that makes me a helper, which exactly why the job at Red Bull was so perfect for me and why I never wanted to have another job at Red Bull. I am the helper. I am the person that identifies talent in others and like doubles down to help them get to where they need to be. I need to find another 2 to help me. I feel like, like, where's my Aaron? He's got to be out here somewhere that's like, I got you, bro. I'm going to help you get there, and that's the problem. Maybe I've been looking for another person to come help me, where I need to maybe just let go and become my own helper,
Yes to both. I think it's A-okay to have people help you. That's great. Would you know what your wing is? We're going to get really deep in the Enneagram for a second.
I think it's like 1 and 3, probably more on the 3, right? Because that's the achiever.
Yeah, I was going to say I think you're a 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for those who haven't listened, the Enneagram is not a personality test. It is a all-encompassing system of how we interact with each other, what we believe to be important into our own lives. Like, what is our core drivers and what are our core fears is what the Enneagram really encapsulates. I'm a 6, just if you're curious. And
what is a 6 for people that are listening?
The loyalist. Yeah. So, I've done all the things, strength finders, Myers-Briggs, like I've done all the things. And I always joke whenever I start to talk about the Enneagram, I feel like I'm about to do a multi-level marketing pitch. Like I have nothing to sell you. The reason why I'm a believer is I ran my business with my wife for 15 years, and bringing the Enneagram into our life, like as a couple, but also as business partners, was the biggest unlock for our business. Because then when we were bumping heads, once I was able to see I was literally reading a book about her number and how she sees the world. I was like, oh, that's how you see the world? Oh, I've never seen the world like that. I don't know what it's like to look at the world like that. That's not my main fear. Those aren't my main desires. So it gave me a lot of empathy for where she's coming from, and vice versa for her. She was able to look into my life and be like, oh, when you say this, I see now what you're meaning. She was taking it through her own lens. So that's why I think the power of the Enneagram is it's empathy for ourselves, for others, but also just understanding like, oh, right. Yeah. I tend to be like this. I tend to act like this. And that's okay. That's who I am. There's millions of other people in the world just like me. I joke, we're so into it. Like we put our teenage sons through Enneagram stuff. And when my son first learned his Enneagram number, and he was 14 or 13 at the time, and he read this thing, it was Enneagram for Kids, and he read it and he was like, oh, I thought I was the only one. But now I realize that there's a whole, like it's in a book. That means that there's lots of people he was so seen, he was so heard. It was so powerful for a kid to be able to say, oh, I'm not alone. He even said, oh, I felt like a psycho until I read that.
Oh, wow.
That's powerful, right? So go check out the Enneagram. There's so much you can do. And LLMs are very well versed on the Enneagram because there's so much text out there on Enneagram. You can have amazing conversations with AI chatbots on the Enneagram if you want to figure out what your Enneagram number is. And yeah, I mean, talking to humans is always better, but if you just want to scratch the surface, check it out.
That's interesting.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
back to you. Back to the two, back to the helper, back to the fear of success. Do you think that's what's, now that you've said the words fear of success, what does that mean to you? Did you see that in yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it sort of puts a frame on everything I've been saying. Like, I don't want people to think this. I don't want this to be the result of that. It's like all of that is sort of downstream of like, if you are successful, it will give people an opportunity to feel this way about it. And if I'm never successful, then no one can feel this way about it. And so I'm sort of holding off the success at the door to be like, I don't want that level of scrutiny. I don't want people to feel that way about me. I don't want to give anybody a reason to be upset with me. And if I'm never successful and I'm only here giving them only value and never asking anything in return, they can never be upset at me because all I'm trying to do is help them out, which probably remains true no matter what, right?
That's you at your core. That's never going to change.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful. That's an amazing, being generative is amazing, and being a helper is an amazing, the world is better because of people like you.
Thanks, I guess.
What permission, I guess the question for you is, what permission do you need to give yourself?
I think that was it. That was the reality check for this year of being like, okay, I recognize that this is how I feel about it. I'm going to disregard it. And I'm going to disregard it and just let it ride and see what happens. I mean, this is the thing specifically within content, is that most people don't care. And I say that in a very positive and negative way, where, especially like I give this advice all the time to people who are starting out on their content journey. People don't care. And that's great. And it's terrible, because all you really want when you make content is for people to care about the thing that you care about. But also the freedom that comes with people not caring is what allows you to do this thing. The amount of people that I've talked to that like believe that people are going to care about the first, second, third, fourth, fifth video that they make, that's actually the thing that holds almost everybody back.
100%.
Like, oh, what if like this video goes viral? The reality is you're not good enough to make something go viral. Like, you won't be good at it because you don't understand how a hook works. You don't understand engagement. You don't understand editing to the level that would require. Yeah, maybe you get lucky and 1 million people watch it, but probably not. And I can tell you from making multiple videos that have gotten millions of views, nothing changes. Nothing changes at all. I have a video on YouTube that's got 12 million views. Like, actually, that video means the least to me out of any video I've ever made. I could delete it right now. It would not make a shred of difference in anything that I do. It doesn't matter. No one cares. And so you have to let go. You have to just disregard all of this stuff and just go put it together. And yeah.
So here you are. So here you are, 2026.
Yeah.
Realizations have been made. What does that look like for you? Like, what are you letting go of? And what is it what is the feeling you're trying to pursue? And I say feeling because I think it's easy to look on the outside. Like, what would this look like? What are the external visible things that it would be looking like? But I'm curious, like, what do you want to feel like? Because you've done this thing, you've got the viral videos, but it's like, it's not feeling right for me right now. I'm just curious what you want it to feel like.
I want to feel like almost like a charging bull of momentum, like that's what I want to feel like. It's just like this unstoppable momentum where that's all that matters is like, I'm making videos all the time. I'm putting together partnerships and I'm just like, I've got so much momentum that nothing is going to actually get in my way. I'm just charging forward and like everybody's just taking a step back because all this stuff is coming out as strong as possible. And I'm just locked into doing the work. And the work is staying consistent and consistently building like on top of the next thing, not letting an opinion get in the way, a feeling get in the way, a second guess get in the way. It's just like this nonstop, like, oh, just everybody just take a step back. This is coming. This is happening. Which feels very weird in a way, but also like if this were true, if I was just cranking on creating like my best work all year and building relationships and building brand partnerships and building these things and not worrying about what anybody has to say or think about it. Yeah, what will that look like? And I haven't tried this one yet, Like I've overthought everything for so long. What would happen if I just let go of that for a year? And where would I be? And part of that is letting go of this fear of success. All right, let's just give it a shot and see, let's just jump in with both feet and just push as hard as we possibly can. I think this is the year that I sort of have to do that to sort of prove to myself that this is viable. I also signed myself up for a lot of stuff that I need to get done. For example, I've got a book deal, which is awesome, but requires a lot of work. And I can't go halfway in to anything at this point. I have to go 100% of the way. And I have to push myself into doing all these things to do it. I can't focus in on one thing and let everything else slide. The only approach for this year for me is to just go full out and really just prioritize everything. And hopefully I don't implode.
How do you prioritize everything exactly?
Just pure reign of terror. Like I'm just going to get it done. Saturday mornings, late nights. Like I'm going to push and push and push as hard as I possibly can. Recognizing that this is probably not the way, but I probably also need to overcorrect to get myself back on track and to get to the point that I want to be at.
What would it look like if it were easy?
If it were easy, I'd have help. Okay. I would have an editor or a filmer or somebody here that could, really take stuff off my plate. But I feel like the only way that I could get to that point is if I was successful in the first place. And so what if I put my head down for a year and charge as hard as I possibly can? Will I be able to create enough momentum where hiring that person makes it easier, but then I could still maintain the same level or even higher level of output? Because ultimately, the output that I want to have is creating tons of videos and tons of podcasts and having them perform really, really well so that it reaches the maximum amount of people. There's no way I could sustain this year's worth of work every single year on my own. But if I don't put in the extra effort this year, I don't know if I'll make it to that next level where, I'm still, like I was talking to you before the podcast, I'm like, I'm in the bottom of the trough right now. Like I was at the top of the ravine and then I went down to the bottom of the ravine and I got to start climbing out. But if you think about it like in an airplane kind of scenario, there is a cruising altitude where you've done the climb and it gets easier, but you're still at 30,000 feet. For me to get to 30,000 feet, there has to be another set of hands that can help me with like filming and editing. It has to exist. And I can't get there until I do the takeoff and the hard climb to that 30,000 level.
Yeah.
So
have you read the book Tiny Experiments?
I don't think I have.
I'm going to mess up her name. She's from France, Anne-Laure Lecomte. Anyway, we'll link to it. The idea behind Tiny Experiments is that we have these ideas and we build them up so big in our head of what it's going to mean or what it's going to take from us. And the idea gets so big that it's like we can't take the first step. And it's super common for all of us. Mm-hmm. And her concept is, and she studies neuroscience and she's brilliant. And her concept is like, we need to take a more scientific approach to it and take a component of that thing, shrink it down and make it time bound. So, if it's something about content, I'm going to publish 2 videos a week for 4 weeks. That's it. That's all I'm going to hold myself to. That's all I'm going to focus on. And it doesn't really matter what happens after that, because it's so easy for us to be like, okay, can I sustain this? What will my audience think? Will it be good? It doesn't matter. All we're going to do is we're going to do this experiment and we're going to learn from it. Okay. What's working? Take what's working, move forward if we want to. What's not working and how do we feel? So it's a really simple concept and it's a wonderful book. And she has a whole section at the end about being generative, which I think would be very interesting for you, because I think that is 100% where you are. And she ties it all together with this idea of doing our work so then it supports ourselves and it supports others. Mm-hmm. But when we build it so big, it's hard to take those steps that we feel like we need to get that momentum that you're talking about, because we've built it up too big. So, okay, now how do we break it down, make it smaller, make it feasible, make it like just what it is, a tiny experiment.
I like that. I feel like the tiny experiment concept, I can already see so many different places in my life where I probably plug it in, test it out, test and learn. And that's been a big part of everything is test and learn. My biggest problem has been letting go of the test and learn. This past year, I actually stopped doing my weekly newsletter for Super Rider because it didn't feel congruent to where I was trying to go with everything. And it took a lot of time. Yeah. And I learned a lot about newsletters. In fact, that's, when we got the Second Nature newsletter, it's, I learned everything that I needed to know for that from the Super Rider newsletter. But when I really looked hard at like, wait, what do I get for this? What am I putting into this? Is this congruent to everything else I'm doing? Like, congruency is really probably my biggest phrase for 2026 of what are the things that I'm putting a lot of energy in. We've been talking about, I'm putting so much energy into so much stuff. But I think one of the caveats is like, but it's congruent. I'm making this stuff, but it's all going into the same thing, as opposed to like, oh, do this newsletter over here that's like not really related to anything else. Oh, make this video over here, not really related to anything else. Oh, do this thing over here. Go speak at this thing, not really related to anything else. Now this year, it's like the focus and congruency behind all the effort. If you're going to have a big year where you're putting everything into it, make sure that it all kind of like becomes that flywheel. It's all going into the same thing.
Is it all going into Super Rider? I mean, and Second Nature as well. But how are you viewing what's going to happen for you in 2026? Like what's the priorities for efforts?
The newsletter, to be more specific, was like a newsletter about like the week's best 3 videos. And so I was finding different videos on the internet and sharing some news and doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then toward the bottom, it'd be like, oh, by the way, here's my latest video. And here's like an affiliate link to something that I'm using. I would be in like the lower third of the newsletter. And everything else in the newsletter was just about like cool stuff on the internet that was bike related. It was an interesting way to like plug my stuff in there. But if I really looked at the stats, like, oh, how many people clicked my video out of all the click-through rate in here? 6. So I just did like 6 hours of work to get like 10 clicks on my YouTube video. Awesome. Okay, well, maybe this isn't the best use of my time. I've got thousands of people signed up for this thing, but actually like this is energy that's going in a different direction than what I'm actually trying to do. And I'd love to pick this up at some point because I like looking at the best videos on the internet for mountain biking and sharing that with thousands of people. But my job as a creator is to teach beginner and intermediate mountain bikers how to become more confident on two wheels. What is the best bike videos on the planet of dudes doing like double backflips and whatever? How does that help somebody who's just learning to ride a mountain bike? It's entertaining, but this is not it. This is not the mission. So I'm going to bail on this. I'll come back to it when I have more time. Maybe when I get that employee that I can start making these for fun. But like, I don't need to do this right now.
Or what does it look like if that newsletter just supports your work? Because I think it's interesting that that newsletter was very much supporting the work of other people, which is, going back to you're the helper and doing the generative work that's helping other people and supporting the community and building a community for the love of mountain biking, for the love of the outdoors. What would it look like to then have a newsletter that just supports your work?
Yeah. That feels a little much at this point, but maybe
for sure. But I mean, it's interesting that's kind of where that's the work you were doing was, again, like supporting other people.
I want to ask you a question about reading because you've mentioned a lot of books and you and I share books back and forth and we're both big readers of the Billy Oppenheimer newsletter. Thank you for that, by the way. What other books are you reading? What other books have made like a real big impact in sort of your mindset that you're recommending on a regular basis?
Tiny Experiments is like, I'm a broken record for that right now. So I've already mentioned that one. I've brought that up to so many people. They've actually said, "Can you stop saying that to me?" So that one, the book that I have recommended the most or given the most, there's two. There's one. It's called The Go-Giver. It's a tiny book. It's sometimes hard to find, and it's an allegory about business, and it's really it's values-based business and just what it means to be essentially what it is. Give, right? I think it would resonate with you. Lion Tracker's Guide to Life.
What is it?
The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life by Boyd Vardy. That's a book that super simple to read, and I just think it has so much. The line that resonates from that book for me is, "I don't know where I'm going, but I know how to get there." So that's where it's like direction is more important than destination. Is something that I come back to a lot. Like, which direction am I headed? And I don't know where it's going to lead me, but what's my direction right now? And that's what that book is all about. The book that I read in 2025, other than Tiny Experiments, that really had a big impact on me was The Gap and the Gain. That book is essentially, we have a tendency. So like we're on a boat and we're looking at the horizon. And that horizon line is very important to us because that helps us navigate, right? But we know that we're actually never going to get to that horizon line, right? Just it's impossible, right? The world is round. So in life and business and whatever it is, we have a tendency to like set the goal, like this is where I want to head to. And then we make progress. And then we pick our head up and we look at where the horizon line is and we're like, dang, it's still so far out there. And we measure ourselves and our feelings and our self-worth and all those things about where we are at the moment to where we say we want to go, as opposed to, so that would be the gap, as opposed to looking backwards and saying, damn, look how far I've come. That's the gain, right? And so in the context of your work, it's, I know where I want this thing to go. I know where like the big vision for this business and for this content, where it could go. But turn around and look back and be like, yeah, man, I have an amazing, super popular podcast with people who want to support me. And I have this YouTube channel, all these things. It's like, oh yeah, that's fuel in the tank, right? It's so easy to be like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. All the things we're going to tweak and tweak. It's like, hey man, that's something in the horizon. We may never get there. That's okay. And I'm long-winded on this book. It was super impactful because I think it's just a reframe to help us see, we're getting there. We're making some gains.
This is the number one reason why I recommend that 5-year journal to anyone who will listen. It's if you're not familiar, it's basically just a journal where every page is like, January 30th or whatever, and then it'll have 5 blocks below that. And each year on that date, you write down, what what's important to you on that date, for example. And so I actually started using this for YouTube specifically. And so the first line in every block is obviously the year, but then how many subscribers am I at? What's the monetization look like for the channel? What's, if there's another platform I'm tracking, like, Instagram, for example, what's the following look like there? And then I write a couple lines about what happened that day in my progress on the channel. And so I'm actually right now on year 5 of this 5-year journal. And it is so crazy to see year 1, because 5 years ago, I was at 3,200 subscribers. This year, I'm at 153,000. And it's interesting to me to see how far I've come, but also what were the things that I was thinking about 5 years ago, and what's the same and what's different. How am I thinking about certain things differently? What was going on? How was I approaching everything? It's amazing to see how much can change in 5 years, and that book for me is exactly that. I'm looking at the gain of how far I've come with so much of this stuff, even though I feel like I'm starting from scratch every single day,
Yeah, I love it. Good for you. It's a good momentum. And that's what I love about entrepreneurship and business in general. It's like, I talked about it earlier, self-awareness. There's no other, there are other things in life that teach you. I always think it's like, you get into a relationship with somebody and it's like you get a mirror held up to your face.
Yeah.
And then you have kids and it's like a full length mirror and like, oh, this is what I'm like. Okay. Interesting. I'm seeing it reflected back now. Then you get into, you become an entrepreneur and it's like you get a carnival mirror. You're like, oh, that's all distorted. It's so weird. Like, am I really like that? These mind games that we play with ourselves. And I love the idea of the 5-year journal, because it's like, no, it's concrete. It's right there. I can see what I was thinking, what I was feeling, and the progress I've made.
What's advice that you want to leave with the people that, me also, but what is the advice that you want to share with the people listening who are probably in a very similar place where they're trying to get out of their own way, or they're trying to sort of reckon with where they're at and where they're trying to go? Is there anything that really stands out to you that feels like the right thing to leave them with?
I'm going to default to, I think we've talked about the Founders podcast before. Founders podcast, David Senra. He's mentioned this a number of times and it resonates for me. So I think it's important. Build a business or build a career that's authentic to you, that's meaningful to you, and then just focus on the product. Just relentlessly focus on that thing that you're putting out, whether it's content or it's a product or it's a service you're giving. But the idea that you can build a business that's authentic to you, that it's unique to you, that it serves you, and I don't mean in a selfish way, but it's like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I have to give in the world, and get clear on what that is. And you don't have to be an entrepreneur to do that. You can do this as an entrepreneur instead of a business. It's like, what is it that I'm really unique and what's authentic to me to do? And I think that's just an interesting life work.
I hope that other people listening to this podcast got a lot out of this, but I personally did. So that's all that really, that's all
what
that
we're here for.
Today. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I got a good I got to like really talk about the stuff that I'm personally kind of dealing with. I feel like I've gotten a really clear look at where I'm at. And like it really kind of clicked into place when you said the fear of success. That feels so true to me. I really feel like, okay, I have a clear path forward. I know what I need to do. I feel confident. If this is what an hour with you is like, I now completely understand why there are probably people lining up for the advising stuff.
Well, no, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. But it's yours. You did it, right? Like I think it's amazing, and I'm grateful for this conversation. As someone who listens to you and consumes your content, you keep going. Like, you monetize it. It's okay. We're willing. We want that success for you. We want it to be sustainable, and I think it's awesome what you're doing. And I look what you're doing, especially from the podcast side, with like total admiration. I think it's so awesome. And I know that there are brands who would line up to be partners with Second Nature. So let's go.
Let's do it. Well, speaking of brands, what a perfect transition into BPC, brand product content. We obviously we end every episode with this segment of something that kind of stands out to us, whether it's a brand we've discovered, a product we're using, piece of content that we love. What you got?
Okay, I'm gonna YOLO this thing because I only get one shot. I'm gonna go for all three, and I
All
don't care
three?
what you say. I'm going for it. I'll make it fast though. Brand, Durston Gear. They're based here in BC. They've came to the market with a super ultralight trekking pole tent, and it's amazing story of what you can do, the sizable business you can build when you make really innovative product and you listen to your market. He built a whole business basically on Reddit forums, and now they're selling probably top 5 tent makers in the world. They're probably selling more tents than most brands out there. They're huge. Wow. It's so cool. Wow. Check them out. Product, Centium AI. If you're interested in where your brand or your company or whatever it is falling in what AI thinks of it and how it's showing up in AI, they have an amazing tool that allows you to basically get a diagnostic of AIO, basically artificial intelligence optimization. It's very cool, and it's not expensive, and they focus on the outdoors. So I highly recommend. I had him on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, the founder of it, and just my mind was blown.
I saw something recently that said like 60% of all internet traffic right now is robots, not even real people, which is a different conversation. But you mentioned the AI like search engine. Sorry, it's
AIO. People are calling it different things, but AIO. It's called AIO.
Mm-hmm. And it's them sort of crawling it so that when someone asks a question in an LLM like ChatGPT, the answer comes from all those robots that have been crawling the internet to try to find the answer, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so, like, if you're not optimizing for that, you're not going to show up when somebody asks a question of Gemini or Claude or Chat GPT or whatever. Yeah,
they're basically, Centium's is taking a bunch of keywords for your brand and running it through and just seeing how you measure up against them. It's essentially SEO, what we've been doing with Ahrefs and SEMrush for years, and it's just focusing on the AI side of it. What's interesting is that they focus on outdoor and outdoor travel. So like ski resorts, that's the big thing right now. If you're about to go on a vacation, you're going to turn to your LLM before, like I'm planning a trip next week, and yeah, it's all baked into my LLM. I'm not even looking at Google unless I need a map.
Wow. Fair.
So that's where it's headed.
Okay.
And content, Jonathan Weaver's Substack, the Anti-Blueprint Project. Have you seen Jonathan Weaver's stuff?
Yeah. He's the CMO of DB Travel, right?
Yeah. Did you see their ad they did with Erling Haaland?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's so good. They're a Norwegian brand, right? And Erling Haaland's like the killer Norwegian striker, plays for Man City. It's such a good ad.
Awesome.
Yeah, his Substack is rich. It's really good.
He just shouted out our buddy Dre the other day. Dre did something on Gentle Monster, the Korean brand, and Jonathan had reshared it, or I don't know what I don't know what the word is on Substack when you bump somebody else's stuff, but he did that for Dre, so that's cool. Okay, I'm coming with probably one of the more different BPCs. I'm going to share some music.
Yeah.
And for two reasons. Number one, this band actually has been helping me a lot on a lot of my like endurance rides, because I feel like the beat of the music is really good for like, and sort of the energy of the music is good for like big heavy climbs. But also I want to make a point about creation. So the name of the band is called Powerwolf. It's a German gothic metal band. They're really fun. They dress up as like undead crusaders. I saw them live in Portland because my son wanted to go see Dragon Force. And so I was like, all right, I'm in. But these guys were actually headlining with Dragon Force. And I was like, who is Powerwolf? And the second they came on stage, I was like, oh, yep, I'm good. What I think is really interesting. So their music is great. If you're out there just shredding, after you're done listening to this podcast, maybe fire up Spotify and check out Powerwolf. It's metal, but it's not like too crazy. It's not too heavy. What I think about it a lot, and I give this analogy to a lot of people who are on the fence about starting something, specifically when it comes to content or podcasts or, anything along those lines. people are always on the fence, like, oh, this has already been done, or there's already people doing this kind of thing. I probably don't need to have my own, I don't need to have a YouTube channel or a podcast about this because like there's already a ton of people doing it. And to think about Powerwolf, because you know what? There's already been Black Sabbath. There's already been Judas Priest. There's already been Metallica. There's already been every metal band on the planet that made amazing genre-defining albums. What business does Powerwolf have making music? There's already been a good metal band. We don't need another one. Of course we do. Of course they have something to offer, and there's a giant audience that's there and ready to sign up and show up on a cold Portland night to listen to them rock out. The world would be less rad if Powerwolf didn't exist. And so anybody who's on the fence thinking, this has already been done, somebody's already doing this, why should I do it? Just remember, there's a band out there making gothic metal, dressing up in face paint and gothic outfits, getting on stage every night because they decided that, although there is great metal out there, maybe we've got something to add, and maybe there's an audience out there looking for what we've got. If you're a content creator and you've had that conversation with yourself and you've been on the sidelines, this is a call to go be that Powerwolf, go create, because there's somebody out there waiting for you.
Yo, mic drop. That was so good. I'm pumped.
All right. Well, let's go make some stuff happen. Christian, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time, and personally, it was really, really helpful. So hopefully it's helpful for lots of other people out there too.
Thanks, man. It was an honor. Love what you're doing, man.
Thank you.